şekilde geldi. Kornerden Brezilya'nın gol yiyeceği pek
Bunlardan çok iyi olan bir takım.
boş da bıraktılar. Çok bak bomboş.
Müller'in kesinlikle öyle. Şimdi Kroos. Toni Kroos. Geri top ceza alanı gol pozisyonu. Klose atamadı. Yaptı. Kesinlikle öyle. Şimdi Kroos. Toni Kroos. Geri top ceza alanı gol pozisyonu. Klose atamadı. Yaptı. Klose attı.
Das ist doch für Spieler und Trainer eine richtig gute Gelegenheit zur Standortbestimmung, oder Buschi?
Absolut, du willst dem Trainer natürlich zeigen, Coach, ich will rein in die Startelf und ich gehöre da auch hin. Und der Trainer, der feilt an Kleinigkeiten.
Und eine hoffentlich spannende Begegnung erwartet uns heute mit Deutschland gegen Argentinien. Und wie schätzt du die Gastgeber ein?
Heute beginnt die Saisonvorbereitung und dieses Team hat nur ein einziges Ziel und das heißt Meister.
Und unser Schiedsrichter heißt Manuel Rui Barbosa. Achtung, hier bahnt sich vielleicht was an. Mesut Özil jetzt. Kedira. Und das ist das Tor. Da ist er ganz cool geblieben.
Und hast du das gesehen, Manni? Wie er den Keeper dadurch verladen hat? Irre. Herrlich gemacht. Wunderbar.
Mascherano hat den Ball. Der Kampf für die Befreiung des Balles war erfolgreich. Bier. Lavezzi. Jetzt müsste die Flanke kommen. Der Trainer ist offenbar der Meinung, wir haben Meinungsfreiheit, dass der Schiedsrichter hier daneben gelegen hat.
Und das hat er in nicht wirklich stubenreiner Art und Weise zum Ausdruck gebracht. Und ich bin mal gespannt, ob das noch Folgen hat.
Das ist es! Özil! Ein verzogener Ball.
Ja, aber so kannst du das Ding auch nicht verwerten.
Und bei den Gästen steht in Kürze ein Wechsel an. Lavezzi. Und da unten steht schon einer bereit, der gleich in die Partie kommen wird. Der Ball fliegt ins Tor aus, klare Sache, Abstoß. Und jetzt noch mal kurz die Wiederholung.
Ein sensationelles Tor, da kann man nicht meckern.
Der Ball sofort verarbeitet. Und was für ein Tor!
Fighting in the streets of Brazil after World Cup hosts crash out in 7-1 utter humiliation at the hands of the German juggernaut. They think it's all bossa nova. It is now. Brazil silenced by 7-1 mauling at the hands of the German juggernaut as host nation crashes out of World Cup in spectacular fashion. Spectators inside in the Mineirão Stadium in Belo Horizonte were left in tears following the devastating defeat. Some left before the final whistle as they struggled to watch the loss. The worst in Brazil's history. Authorities called to a densely populated area of Sao Paulo after football supporters reportedly set a bus alight in Rio de Janeiro. Officers descended on Copacabana Beach amid reports of gunfire. Riot police were out in force in several Brazilian cities in case trouble kicked off. Thomas Muller scored early to give the Germans the lead after being left completely unmarked from a corner. Then a goal from Miroslav Klose, 2 from Toni Kroos and another from Sami Khedira followed to increase their lead in the second half. The opponents increased their lead again through Andre Schürrle, making it 6-0. He scored again 10 minutes later to make it 7-0. Ending Brazil's World Cup dreams after the match, stand-in captain David Luiz said it was hard to describe the loss into and apologized to all Brazilians. The match was most talked about subject on Twitter ever, hitting 580,000 tweets per minute. Paddy Power said one punter from the West Midlands had £1 at 501 on the score at halftime being 5-0. Brazil is braced for trouble after the dreams of millions of football fans were left in tatters last night. Spectators inside the Mineirão Stadium in Belo Horizonte were in tears as their side succumbed to a humiliating 7-1 defeat to Germany in the World Cup semi-final, ending dreams of a title on home soil. In response, riot police were out in force in several Brazilian cities in case trouble kicked off. In Rio de Janeiro, officers descended on Copacabana Beach amid reports of gunfire. Authorities were called to a densely populated area of Sao Paulo after football supporters reportedly set a bus alight, leaving it as little more than a burnt-out shell. Police on horseback were called to the FIFA Fan Fest in Recife after scuffles broke out following Germany's third goal against Brazil. One of the police riders was taken to hospital after one of the horse panicked, throwing the policeman to the ground, according to reports. Fights also reportedly broke out among Brazilian and German fans watching the game in the Savassi nightclub region of Belo Horizonte, where the semi-final showdown was taking place. Groups of youths were also reported attacking and robbing tourists near the famous Copacabana Palace Hotel. Police detained 8 people and described climate among fans gathered on the beach as tense. But so far the widespread reaction has been of sadness, not anger. The team, led by stand-in captain David Luiz, were booed off following the disappointing performance, the biggest defeat in a World Cup semi-final and Brazil's worst loss in their history. 4 goals in the space of just 7 first-half minutes silenced an entire nation, leaving the shell-shocked nations an almost impossible task to progress to the final, facing a 5-0 deficit at halftime. Their fate was sealed in the second half when 2 more goals by Germany's striker Andre Schürrle ended their hopes. After the game, Louise said, "We got lost a little bit there. It's very difficult to explain right now. The dream is over, in a way that the people didn't want. We wanted to make the people happy. Unfortunately we couldn't. We apologize to all Brazilians." Brazil's head coach Felipe Scolari said he had experienced the worst day of his life in the wake of the result. He said, "I'll be remembered probably because I lost 7-1, the worst defeat Brazil have ever had, but that was a risk I knew I was running when I accepted this position. Life goes on. That's what I'll do." However, he rejected the suggestion that Neymar's serious injury, and the emotion created by his absence, had played a key part in the defeat. "No, no, no. Let's not try to find an excuse in Neymar or the emotions of the anthem," he said. Germany probably could have done that with Neymar in the side, also. He wouldn't have known how to defend those moves for the second, third, fourth and fifth goals. In Sao Paulo, Brazil's biggest city, thousands gathered in the bohemian neighborhood of Vila Madalena, the streets carpeted with yellow, green and blue, the colors of the Brazilian flag. Fan Samir Kelvin clung to a street pole and cried, "I have nothing left. I am Brazilian and humiliate." Nearby, a woman cried out, "What shame, what shame," as a man nearby was banging his head against a bar table. After Germany scored an early goal, samba groups simply stopped drumming in shock. More goals followed and silence overtook bars as fans stared blankly at TV screens. Thomas Müller scored early to give Germans the lead after being left completely unmarked from a corner. Then a goal from Miroslav Klose, 2 from Toni Kroos and another from Sami Khedira followed to increase their lead. In the second half, the opponents increased their tally again through Andre Schürrle, making it 6-0. The absence of Neymar and captain Thiago Silva saw an evening of high emotion pre-kickoff turn to a horror show. The opening period was always going to be a testing one for Germany, with the partisan crowd baying every Brazilian touch and tackle. Marcelo was cheered after sending a 25-yard shot skimming a couple of yards wide, but there was a frantic feel to Brazil's performance and Germany looked capable of punishing slackness. Brazil's high tempo only served to make them vulnerable on the break and Germany made them pay again, this time Klose becoming a World Cup's record breaker with 16 goals. Another sweet passing move saw Müller lay the ball off and although Caesar stopped his first effort, Klose buried the rebound. This was another blow to the host nation, as the previous record holder was Brazilian striker Ronaldo, who scored 15 in 3 tournaments. 2 minutes later and it was 3-0, Lamb's cross going all the way across the area for Kroos to slam home left-footed from 18 yards. Another 2 minutes, another goal. From a goal kick Fernandinho was robbed by Khedira who unselfishly played in Kroos for a virtual tap-in for 4-0. The Brazilian cities which played host to fierce protests before the tournament were mostly calm after the match, but not completely. Security was beefed up around the stadium as one fan, Samir Kelvin, clung to a street lamp and cried, "I have nothing left. I am Brazilian and humiliated. I want to kill myself." By this time Brazil fans were in tears and a few were captured leaving their seats, but the German machine marched on mercilessly. Less than half an hour gone and the hosts were 5-0 down. Özil, who had come during the match, tormented the defense and exchanged passes to set up Khedira. All over the pitch, in the stands, the executive box where FIFA president Sepp Blatter watched, in the fan fests on the beaches and those tens of millions tormented on TVs throughout Brazil, there was sheer disbelief. Neuer has been barely tested in the first half but only he prevented Brazil getting on the score sheet, first defying Oscar and then Paulino. Julio Cesar had to be at his best to tip over Muller's curling effort from 25 yards, but Germany were not to be denied and Lamm's penetrating cross was struck home by substitute Schürrle. It was Chelsea midfielder Schürrle who piled on the agony, a breathtaking finish into the top corner after pulling down Muller's instinctive cross. Ozil should have made it an embarrassing 8 but slid wide when through on goal before Oscar's crisp finish in the last minute provided a glimmer of light in the darkness. Brazil spent billions of dollars preparing for the tournament, with expectations that home advantage could deliver a 6th title. But the high cost also ignited intense anger and protest against the World Cup, with demonstrators lamenting the costs when the nation is saddled with woeful public services. The host nation have the chance to restore some pride during the third-place playoff on Saturday, where they will play either the Netherlands or Argentina. Brazil's most heartbreaking World Cup defeat had been a 2-1 loss to Uruguay in the last match of the 1950 World Cup that it hosted. The loss to Germany ranks right up there with that painful defeat.